I thought dying would feel dramatic. Sirens, chaos, final words. It didn't. It felt quiet. I was sitting at my kitchen table. Same chair I had sat in for 30 years, coffee in my hand, and then my chest tightened. Not sharp, not loud, just heavy, like someone placed a stone inside me. I told myself, it's nothing. I had told myself that for years. The headaches were nothing. The exhaustion was nothing. The weight gain was nothing. The shortness of breath was nothing, until it wasn't. When the doctor looked at me later that night, his eyes said something his mouth tried to soften. You've ignored this for too long. Too long. Those two words will haunt you when you realize your body was whispering, and you kept turning up the noise of your life. I am 87 years old, and if you are young and healthy right now, you are standing exactly where I once stood, certain, busy, untouchable. I used to believe I had time to rest, time to fix it, time to care. Time is the one thing that doesn't wait for you to feel ready. If I could trade every dollar I earned, every promotion, every late night I sacrificed my sleep for, I would trade it all for one more strong breath before my heart attack, before the hospital room, before the machines and the quiet fear in my daughter's eyes. I was a man who believed he was doing everything right. That is the dangerous part. I wasn't reckless. I wasn't lazy. I wasn't trying to destroy myself. I was trying to be a good man. It was a Tuesday morning. I remember because the trash truck had just passed my house. Same sound it had made for 30 years. Same routine, same life. I was 72 years old. I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of black coffee. My hands were shaking slightly, but they had been shaking for years. I told myself it was normal. Age, stress, work, life. My chest felt tight, not pain, just pressure. Like someone slowly pressing their palm against the center of my body. I ignored it. I had ignored everything for decades. The headaches in my 40s, the constant heartburn in my 50s, the weight I gained in my 60s, the nights I couldn't sleep because my heart felt like it was racing for no reason. Men in my family are strong, I used to say. Strong. That word destroyed me. Because I confused strength with silence. I thought real strength meant not complaining, not going to doctors, not admitting fear. I worked through fevers. I worked through back injuries. I worked through exhaustion so deep it felt like walking underwater. When my wife asked me to slow down, I said, I'm fine. When my daughter said I looked tired, I laughed. When my body whispered, I turned up the volume of my life. More work, more stress, more food, more distractions. That morning, sitting at the kitchen table, something inside me felt different. The pressure spread into my jaw, then my left arm. Still. I waited. I told myself it would pass like everything else had passed. You see, the human mind is very good at denial. Psychologically, we don't ignore pain because we are stupid. We ignore it because acknowledging it forces us to change. And change is uncomfortable. If I admitted something was wrong, I would have to rest. I would have to eat differently. I would have to stop smoking. I would have to face the fact that I was not invincible. So I sat there, breathing slowly, pretending, until breathing wasn't easy anymore. Have you ever tried to pull air into your lungs and felt like it stopped halfway, like your body forgot how? That was the moment I realized something was very wrong. I remember looking around my kitchen, the refrigerator covered in magnets from places I never truly explored, the clock ticking louder than usual, the empty chair where my wife used to sit before she passed. And for the first time in my life, I felt fear, not fear of death, fear of regret. Because in that moment, I knew something with terrible clarity. This wasn't sudden. This wasn't bad luck. This was the result of years. Years of saying, later. Years of choosing money over sleep. Years of choosing pride over prevention. Years of believing youth was permanent. I called for help 5 minutes too late. The doctors saved my life that day, but they couldn't give me back what I had slowly taken from myself. That heart attack was not the beginning of my illness. It was the ending of my denial. Long pause. If you are young right now, if your body feels strong, if you think you have time, I once believed exactly what you believe, and that belief almost killed me. I did not collapse in a dramatic way. There was no movie moment, no loud crash, no screaming, no final speech. It was quiet. That's what scares me the most when I look back. I grew up in a small house with thin walls and thinner patience. My father worked in a factory. He came home tired, always tired. His hands were cracked from chemicals. His back bent before he turned 50. He never went to the doctor, not once. He used to say, "Doctors are for people who have time to be sick." And in our house, nobody had time. I watched him ignore pain like it was a badge of honor. I watched him swallow discomfort like pride. I learned early that vulnerability was weakness. When I was 12, I saw him cut his hand deeply while fixing the car, blood everywhere. My mother panicked. He wrapped it in a dirty cloth and said, "It'll heal." It did, but what I learned that day stayed with me longer than the scar on his palm. Real men endure. Real men don't complain. Real men push through. So when I became a man, I followed the script perfectly. I worked construction from the time I was 19. Long hours, sun burning my neck, dust in my lungs, fast food between shifts, coffee instead of water, cigarettes during breaks because everyone else did it. It felt normal. In your 20s, your body forgives everything. You can sleep 4 hours. You can drink too much. You can eat whatever is cheap and fast. You can ignore the gym for years. And nothing breaks. So you think nothing ever will. That illusion is powerful. In my 30s, I got married. She was gentle, patient. She noticed things about me I refused to notice. "You grind your teeth at night," she said once. "You're always tense." I shrugged it off. Stress meant I was providing. Exhaustion meant I was responsible. High blood pressure? That was just part of being a man with ambition. When my daughter was born, something inside me softened. I held her in my arms and promised I would give her everything I never had. And I did. But I misunderstood what everything meant. I thought it meant money, a bigger house, better schools, savings, security. So I worked more. 12-hour days became normal. Weekends became optional. Vacations became rare. Every year I told myself, just a little more. Then I'll slow down. Psychologically, this is how we trap ourselves. We attach our worth to productivity. If I am useful, I am valuable. If I earn, I matter. If I provide, I am loved. So I became useful, extremely useful. But I stopped being present. There is a difference. By my 40s, I had constant heartburn. I kept antacids in my truck like candy. I gained weight slowly, quietly. My sleep grew lighter. I woke up at 3 a.m., thinking about bills, projects, deadlines. I told myself it was temporary. Stress became my personality. I didn't know then that chronic stress changes your body. It increases inflammation. It tightens blood vessels. It keeps your nervous system in constant fight-or-flight mode. Your body cannot heal when it thinks it is under attack, and mine had felt under attack for decades. But here's the truth I didn't understand. No one was attacking me. I was attacking myself, with pressure, with unrealistic expectations, with the constant belief that rest was laziness. When my wife asked me to take a day off, I felt irritated. When my doctor once mentioned lifestyle changes, I changed doctors. That's how denial works. It protects your identity at all costs. Because if I admitted my lifestyle was unhealthy, I would have to admit something much deeper. I didn't know how to feel worthy without overworking. And that terrified me. So I kept going, through fatigue, through warning signs, through quiet signals from my body. I thought I was building a life, but slowly, quietly, I was shortening it. If you are young and listening to me right now, ask yourself something difficult. Who are you trying to prove yourself to? Your father, society, your friends, your own fear? Be careful what identity you build, because one day your body will collect payment for every year you ignored it. And it does not negotiate. The first time my body truly warned me, I was 46 years old. Not old, not young. That dangerous middle place where you still feel strong, but the cracks begin to form. It happened at work. It was late afternoon. Hot day. I hadn't eaten properly, just coffee and a sandwich between tasks. I remember climbing a set of stairs at a construction site, carrying equipment that I would normally lift without thinking. Halfway up, my vision blurred, just slightly. Then my heart started racing, not the normal kind, not from effort. This felt wrong. It was fast, uneven, aggressive. I stopped at the top of the stairs and pretended to check my phone so no one would see me leaning against the wall. My chest felt tight. My hands went cold. For a moment, just a moment, I thought, this is it. But after 5 minutes, it slowed down. My breathing steadied. The world returned to normal. And do you know what I did? Nothing. I told myself it was dehydration, stress, too much caffeine. Anything but what it actually was. A warning. That night, my wife looked at me and said, "You look pale." I said I was tired. She asked if I wanted to see a doctor. I said, "It passed." That phrase became my shield. It passed. Headaches passed. Heartburn passed. Dizziness passed. Fatigue passed. But passing does not mean harmless. This is something young people must understand. Symptoms don't disappear because the problem is gone. Sometimes they disappear because your body has adjusted to dysfunction. And when your body adapts to something unhealthy, you mistake survival for safety. A week later, it happened again, this time at home. I was sitting on the couch watching television when my heart started racing for no reason. I checked my pulse with my fingers like I had seen in movies. It was irregular, fast, then slow, then fast again. Fear crept in, but pride was louder. Instead of going to the emergency room, I went to bed. I remember lying there in the dark, listening to my own heartbeat echo in my ears. Thump, pause. Thump, thump, pause. I told myself if it was serious, I would already be dead. That is how denial negotiates. If it were really bad, something dramatic would happen. But health rarely collapses dramatically at first. It erodes, slowly, like rust under paint. The next morning, I felt fine. And that fine erased the fear. Psychologically, this is called normalization. When something abnormal happens repeatedly without immediate catastrophe, your brain downgrades its importance. You adapt to danger. You convince yourself it's ordinary. Months went by. The episodes continued. Shortness of breath, random sweating, pressure in my chest after heavy meals. Each time, I minimized it, because acknowledging it would require change. Change meant less overtime, less alcohol, quitting cigarettes, exercising, sleeping more. And I didn't want to give up the life I had built, even if that life was slowly damaging me. Here is a truth most people don't talk about. Sometimes we don't ignore our health because we're unaware. We ignore it because we are addicted to our habits, addicted to the identity, addicted to the pace, addicted to feeling needed. Slowing down felt like failure, so I chose speed over safety. At 48, during a routine company health screening, the kind they do for insurance, a nurse looked at my blood pressure reading twice, then a third time. She frowned. "Has it always been this high?" she asked. I laughed. "Runs in the family." That was my second shield. Blame genetics. If it's inherited, it's inevitable. If it's inevitable, I don't have to change. The doctor recommended medication, diet changes, less salt, less stress, exercise. I filled the prescription. I took the pills for 3 weeks. Then I stopped. I didn't like the idea of being someone who needs medication. It made me feel weak. So I chose ego over prevention. Again. Years passed. My daughter grew older. I missed more dinners, missed more moments. I told myself I was sacrificing for them. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes we hide behind responsibility to avoid confronting ourselves. If I was constantly busy, I didn't have to sit alone with my racing thoughts. I didn't have to admit I was afraid of aging, afraid of slowing down, afraid of being irrelevant. So I kept ignoring the signs until my body stopped whispering and started shouting. If you are watching this right now and you have felt something unusual, a strange pain, a constant fatigue, anxiety that feels physical, a heartbeat that doesn't feel right, please don't do what I did. Don't wait for it to pass, because sometimes what passes is your chance to prevent something worse. I had a window, a clear window in my 40s to change everything. I could have started walking daily. I could have quit smoking when my daughter begged me to. I could have taken medication seriously. I could have reduced my stress instead of glorifying it. But I didn't, because I thought real consequences only happened to other people. I was wrong, and the cost of being wrong was not paid immediately. It was paid slowly, with interest. And one morning, decades later, it arrived all at once. You think you have time. I thought so too. Until the day my heart decided it was tired of waiting for me to listen. People imagine heart attacks as chaos, sirens, falling to the ground, clutching your chest dramatically. Mine felt almost polite. That's what makes it terrifying. It was early morning. The house was quiet. I was 72, retired. After decades of saying, "I'll rest later," later had finally arrived. And I didn't know what to do with it. I had the money, I had the time, but I didn't have the energy. That morning I woke up already tired. Not the normal kind. A deep, heavy fatigue, like my body had been carrying something through the night. I walked to the kitchen slowly. My knees hurt. They had for years. My breathing felt slightly shallow, but I had gotten used to that too. I poured coffee, sat down, and then it started. Not pain, pressure. Right in the center of my chest, a thick spreading weight. I waited, because that's what I had trained myself to do. Wait it out. It spread into my shoulders, then my jaw, then down my left arm like a dull electric current. I remember staring at my hand. It didn't look like it belonged to me. Sweat formed on my forehead. The room felt smaller. Breathing became intentional. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Not enough. There's a specific kind of fear that comes when your body stops obeying you. It's not panic. It's realization. And in that realization, something inside me became very clear. This wasn't random. This wasn't sudden. This was accumulated. 40 years of small decisions. 40 years of postponing care. 40 years of saying, "I'm fine." My wife was gone by then. Cancer had taken her years earlier. I often wonder if part of me began declining the day she left. Loneliness is heavier on the body than people understand. Psychologically, isolation increases inflammation. It increases stress hormones. It weakens the heart. I didn't talk about grief. I worked through it. Then I retired into it. Silence can be loud. I reached for my phone. My hand was shaking. For a moment, just a moment, pride tried to speak again. It will pass. But this time, it didn't feel like something that would pass. It felt like something that would end. I called my daughter. I didn't say, "I love you." I said, "Something feels wrong." She heard it in my voice, that tone, the one that doesn't pretend anymore. The ambulance ride is blurry. But I remember the ceiling lights passing above me in the hospital hallway. White rectangles, over and over, like a countdown. A young doctor leaned over me. "Sir, you're having a heart attack." The words were calm, professional, but to me they sounded like a verdict. In that moment, something strange happened. My life did not flash before my eyes. Regret did. I saw the school play I skipped, the vacations I postponed, the cigarettes I said I would quit next month, the walks I never took, the checkups I canceled, the stress I wore like a medal. I realized something painful. I had treated my body like it was replaceable, like I could swap it out later for a healthier version. But there is no second body, no upgrade, no restart, just consequences. The procedure saved me. A stent, medication, machines monitoring every heartbeat I once took for granted. When I woke up in recovery, my daughter was sitting beside me. Her eyes were red. She tried to smile. I had always believed I was protecting my family by working harder, earning more, pushing through. But lying in that hospital bed, I understood something different. The strongest protection you can give the people you love is staying alive and healthy enough to be there. Money cannot hug your daughter. Promotions cannot sit at your hospital bed. Pride cannot hold your hand when you cannot breathe. Recovery was not heroic. It was humiliating, needing help to stand, needing help to walk, feeling fragile inside a body I once trusted completely. That is when fear truly entered me. Not fear of death, fear of limitation, because when your health collapses, your independence collapses with it. Your world shrinks. You calculate stairs, you measure distances, you check your pulse constantly, and worst of all, you realize how preventable it might have been. The cardiologist later told me something I will never forget. This didn't start this year. It started decades ago. Decades ago, when I was your age, when I felt invincible, when I believed consequences belonged to older people. I used to look at elderly men and think, that won't be me. But aging is not a surprise. It is a direction. And every day you are walking toward it. The only question is, in what condition? If you are young right now, listen carefully. Your heart is forgiving, until it isn't. Your body adapts, until it collapses. And when it collapses, it does not care about your excuses. I survived that day. Many don't. But survival is not the same as restoration. Something changed in me on that hospital bed. For the first time in my life, I understood that health is not something you fix when it breaks. It is something you protect before it does. And I learned that lesson later than I should have. Much later. I used to be proud of how much stress I could handle. I wore it like a badge. I can take it, I would say. Pressure makes diamonds. That's what we tell ourselves. But pressure also crushes. No one ever explained to me what stress actually does inside a body. Not the motivational version, the biological truth. When you are constantly worried, constantly rushing, constantly trying to prove yourself, your body thinks you are in danger. It releases cortisol, adrenaline, your heart beats faster, your blood vessels tighten, your muscles stay tense. That response is designed to save your life in short bursts. But I lived in it for 40 years. 40. Imagine running from a threat every single day, even when no threat is there. That was my nervous system, always alert, always bracing, never resting. And when your body never rests, it never repairs. I remember waking up in my 50s, feeling exhausted before the day even began. My jaw hurt from grinding my teeth. My shoulders felt like stone. My stomach burned constantly. But I thought that was adulthood. I thought that was responsibility. Young people today call it hustle. We used to just call it survival. But survival mode is not meant to be permanent. Here's something I didn't understand back then. Stress doesn't just make you feel bad. It silently damages your heart, raises your blood pressure, weakens your immune system. disrupts your sleep, increases inflammation throughout your entire body, and inflammation is the quiet beginning of many diseases. Heart disease, diabetes, stroke. My cardiologist told me after my heart attack, "Your arteries have been under stress for decades." Decades. I wanted to argue. I exercised sometimes. I worked physically demanding jobs. I wasn't lying in bed all day. But stress is not just physical inactivity. It's mental load. It's the constant pressure you put on yourself to be more successful, more productive, more respected, more secure. And here is the dangerous part. No one applauds rest. They applaud achievement. So you sacrifice sleep. You skip meals. You cancel checkups. You push through pain. And society claps until your body collapses. I remember one specific night when I was 58. I woke up at 2:47 a.m., wide awake, heart racing, mind spinning, bills, projects, future, retirement. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? I sat on the edge of the bed in the dark. My wife turned and asked softly, "Are you okay?" I said yes, but I wasn't. I was terrified of slowing down, because if I slowed down, I would have to sit with my thoughts, and my thoughts were loud. I never learned how to calm my nervous system. I never learned how to breathe deeply, how to meditate, how to disconnect. I only knew how to push forward. Young people today live in a world that is even louder. Phones buzzing, notifications, comparison, social media, news, endless information. Your brain was not designed for constant stimulation. When you scroll late at night, your body does not know you are safe in bed. It reacts to every stimulus as if it matters. And slowly, your baseline stress level rises. Then you say, "I'm just tired," or "This is normal." That word again, normal. Just because something is common does not mean it is healthy. High stress is common. Anxiety is common. Burnout is common. Heart disease is common. But common is not harmless. After my heart attack during recovery, they monitored my heart rhythm for days. I watched the screen, every spike, every dip. For the first time, I understood something simple and brutal. My heart had been working for me every second of my life, even when I abused it, even when I fed it poorly, even when I deprived it of sleep, even when I filled my lungs with smoke, even when I flooded my system with stress. It kept beating until it couldn't keep compensating anymore. That's what the body does. It compensates. It adapts. It buys you time. But time is not forgiveness. It is a loan. And I lived on borrowed time for years without realizing it. If you are 25 right now, or 32, or 40, and you wake up tired every day, if your shoulders are always tight, if your heart races at night, if you eat standing up, if you haven't had a full checkup in years, please don't tell yourself you'll deal with it later. Later becomes someday. Someday becomes never. And never becomes regret. I am not telling you to quit your job or abandon ambition or stop building your future. I am telling you something much simpler. Your body is not your enemy. It is your partner. If you ignore it long enough, it will stop negotiating. And when it does, you will give anything, to go back to the days when all it wanted from you was a little rest, a little care, a little respect. I learned that too late. You don't have to. I spent my life chasing things I thought were important. Money, recognition, titles, approval. I thought these would make me safe, respected, happy. They didn't. I remember when I was 50. I had just been promoted. Bigger office, corner desk, people calling me boss. I felt nothing at all. I thought I would feel proud, accomplished, alive. Instead, I felt empty. I realized too late that all the time I spent climbing ladders, I was climbing away from myself, from my health, from my family, from small moments that were quietly life-changing. Lesson 1. Money isn't security. It's a trap. I worked 12, 14, sometimes 16 hours a day. I saved, invested, planned for retirement like it was a castle I could walk into. But my body didn't arrive with me. When I finally retired, I could no longer travel the way I wanted. My knees hurt. My lungs were fragile. My heart demanded caution. I had saved a fortune. I couldn't enjoy it. Money is powerful, yes, but it cannot buy back your health. It cannot replace the years you spend ignoring your body. Psychologically, we fool ourselves. We believe future comfort can replace present care. It can't. Lesson 2. Pride kills slowly. I didn't go to the doctor when my chest hurt in my 40s. I didn't change my habits when my blood pressure spiked. I didn't admit fear. I wanted to appear strong, capable, in control. I thought admitting weakness would make me small. But pride is silent murder. It convinces you that looking after yourself is optional. It convinces you that ignoring pain is strength. Real strength is noticing your limits and respecting them. Lesson 3. Love is in the little things, not the big gestures. I missed my daughter's school play. I skipped my wife's birthday because work demanded it. I thought love was about providing, paying bills, giving gifts. It isn't. Love is showing up, listening, being present, holding hands, saying nothing, but being there. Psychologically, humans crave connection, not status, not wealth, not praise. I traded that presence for responsibility, and I can never get it back. Lesson 4. Health is not optional. I thought I could cheat my body, ignore it, smoke, overeat, skip exercise, sleep too little, stress constantly. I was wrong. The body doesn't forgive forever. It whispers, then shouts, it adapts, then collapses. I learned the hard way that every ignored warning has a cost. Lesson 5. Time is the most precious currency. I wasted decades thinking I had time. Time to rest, time to change, time to say I'm sorry, time to take care of myself. Time never waits. Your youth is not infinite. Your body is not a machine. One day, the bills of neglect arrive, and they are heavier than anything you ever imagined. I could go on for hours about all the things that didn't matter. The arguments that felt big at the time, the people I tried to impress, the stress I glorified. It all feels small now. Everything that felt urgent was temporary. Everything that was permanent, love, presence, health, was the thing I ignored. If you are young, watching this now, I want you to hear this. Stop. Stop measuring life by what everyone else says matters. Stop thinking success is defined by money or approval. Start measuring life by presence, by care, by the small, quiet choices that nourish your body, your mind, your relationships. Reflection: I am 87 now. I survived a heart attack. I lived with decades of stress. I endured surgeries and medications. And I have learned painfully that most of what we chase in life is a distraction from the truth. We have one body, one chance to be present, one finite number of days with the people we love. All the rest is noise. Long pause. If you are listening, do not make the mistake I made. Prioritize what matters. Every small choice counts, because later may never come.